Welcome to Pirate Chain, utilizing revolutionary cutting edge technology that is pioneered and mastered for financial privacy cryptography. We're storing, sending, and receiving your money secure and anonymous isn't optional, it's our number one priority. Go to pirate.black now and start to take control of your financial freedom. Download the Pirate Lite wallet using Mac, Windows, or Linux. Also available on Android under Skull Island and coming soon for Apple iOS. Pirate Chain Parlay starts now.
Hello.
Arr.
Hello. Mic test. Mic test.
Um, yeah, is it on your? It's on your PC, right? It's on your.
People usually arrive a little later. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Crypto Land. This is Lutz, and we are here at the Pirate Week meeting, and we do this every week. If you guys don't know, this one is special. This is the monthly update. So if you guys don't know what that is, we do that every month. You get the actual pirate updates from the monthly update, and every week we just do a different conversation, uh, along with addressing any concerns the public might have. You could come into the meeting. Anyone could come in, raise their hand from this new system, and ask a question. So feel free to do that. And at any time, just hit the little hand button and ask a question. So, this week we have a lot going on. Uh, at the moment, this morning I spoke to a couple of investors that are looking for to get us angel investors. So that's kind of cool. So hopefully we get the team paid at some point. And going forward, we're going forward with the Miami event, guys. The Miami event. If you guys want to attend, you're in Florida or want to go. That is expcrypto.io, and that's the Miami Crypto Experience, it's called. And typically the tickets are expensive, but with MIA BC, the number four ever, MIA BC, the number four ER, you could get the tickets for $50. So I suggest you go get one if you're close or you want to attend because there's going to be a lot of people there, a lot of cool talkers. Looks like a pretty big conference, so check it out. Um, I'll be there. Also, we have the Texas Crypto Conference coming, and I'll be there for the day as well, for the day, and then I'll be returning home. Because I have a speaking position there, so I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna speak, and then I'm gonna come home uh, to help my wife. And that's about it as far as events. We might have another one coming in June, but we're not sure on that one. But it might be like another Acapulco, so it'll be. Um, let's see what else we got going. We got Changelly, guys. Yes, so we got screwed on Exodus. They gave us four requirements. We fulfilled them, and then they came up with a number five. You got to give us this much money. If they told me that they got to give, the price was, number five, and I seen it. I probably wouldn't have bothered with the previous four, right? Uh, but we are here, and we did get Changelly just for that. But unfortunately, They want to play games. So we're on Changelly anyway. That was a great success. That's going to put us in front of 2 million more people once we're on it. So that's very exciting. You should look out for that news when it comes. Uh, that'll probably that's one of the best things in crypto. The best things for marketing for any coin is always getting on a good exchange. That's like without a doubt always helps big time, right? Not a small exchange like a tiny crappy one. I'm talking about big ones, right? Like big ones like Changelly, right? So those always bring in adoption because people see it as an option now in the exchange that they love to use, and they go look into it, they research it, they end up loving it, and they become pirates. So we got war. The war implementation is next month, guys. So look out for that. Drake's meeting this morning. I did mention that by next month they should be coming very close to that going live. So I don't want to give you any exact dates. We know that's not a good thing in crypto, but around next month we're gonna have a token on the Binance network that allows people to take a risk of putting their coins in an area where they're kind of exposed, which is the problem with Ethereum, right? Problem with tokens is that it's all traceable. But once it's in there, and I think they actually have a solution for that too. But that aside, and we're just not going to talk about that yet. Uh, you'll be able to get gains. So it's called liquidity staking. You'll be able to get some money for your dead wood. For your coins that just sit there, right? So that'll be fun for all of us. And remember, those coins they don't get printed out of thin air. It's a one-to-one exchange, and they come from what I understand, fees and from the swaps on the network. And I'll let Drake, if he's around, explain that a little more if he's here. If not, we shall go on. Acapulco was awesome, guys. I had a great time there. It was definitely adventurous. I found myself walking home in Mexico one night, and then another night I'm jumping a wall to get into my place because front doors lock after a certain time for all these places. So it was nuts, pretty nuts. At 3 in the morning, I'm scaling walls to get into my place. But it was fun. I gotta say, it was fun. It was definitely an adventure.
Yeah, let's.
Um,
So we got Paul here now.
hey, welcome, Paul. Welcome to the monthly update. We have these meetings every week, but this one we have every month. We
Yeah,
get a lot more up.
I just threw him an invite to speak, so he should be here in a second.
Oh, hello, everybody. Hear me okay?
Yep.
Hey,
All right,
welcome.
cool. Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Paul is from Edge Wallet. So we brought him here as a special guest to talk about Edge Wallet, and because he got in on the debacle with that other wallet. So I don't even want to mention their name because they're asking $500,000 to integrate.
Oh, pretty hefty price for sure.
Well, this is what happened. I just went over it, but I'll say it again. They gave us 4 requirements. We fulfilled 4 requirements, and then there was a magic 5th requirement that costed $500,000. I was like, dude, if you told me about number 5, I wouldn't have bothered with the other 4. I would have been like,
Yeah.
oh, forget it.
Yeah, I mean, part of being in the free market, you can ask for whatever you want, but at the same time, be reasonable and be straightforward and don't hide anything. So that definitely wouldn't have been what I'd call good business practice to do such a thing. You can ask for 50 million if you want, but at least be straightforward about it.
Well, the sad part is that people don't understand the closed source, and I thank you for bringing that up because about a couple months ago, I brought in another project called Incognito, and then I found from one of their devs that they're hiding code, right? And I'm like, you can't say you're an open source project and hide code. You just can't do that. That's a red flag. Right? So
Right.
and we stopped talking to them completely. Right? So I mean, we were going to get integrated, and now we're not, and that ended it completely. So Yeah, and I thank you. I didn't even notice myself till you said it. Honestly, I thought it was an open source project. Uh, so on that note, I think a lot of people that were asking for it and think they love it is now opening their eyes to what it is. Closed source proprietary project.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, brother.
Well, no, definitely no problem. It's something that we've felt strongly about from day one. We've been building open source since the founding of our company, and contributing to open source projects as well. And we think that especially crypto has made open source a much bigger necessity, and definitely people that care about privacy even before, during, and even before crypto have generally been people that have contributed to or cared about using open source products. Now, no way at all am I going to claim to be one of those people that's like open source up and down the line. Like, I know people that literally uninstall the operating system on their mobile phone so that they can install an open source version of Android that they build from scratch themselves. Now, while I admire that, that's not something that I think is feasible for the average user. So our take is, let's take a lot of the ethos of privacy, security, open source nature, but make it such that the average user can use those tools without going through more effort than they would normally go through with a conventional Silicon Valley closed source proprietary app.
Dude, I've been trying to figure out how to live boot a phone. That would be so cool if we could live boot a phone, right? Like you plug in an SD card, you turn it on, and now it's a whole different operating system. Wouldn't that be awesome?
It would be nice, but definitely a huge challenge for sure. And so there's a balancing act somewhere there. There's obviously multiple extremes, like the extreme closed source, don't know what the hell's going on in there. And the extreme open source, and I compile it myself, and I see, I can see all the code that's running on it, including the firmware. You go even to further extreme, I build my own CPU, but somewhere in between gets you most of the benefits while still giving a lot of the usability. And so allowing you to get the ethos and ideology behind open source and privacy and autonomy, but get it into the masses, right? So I think it's important that we have the people out there that can go through the extra effort to, boot a phone directly themselves, but then take that knowledge that they've gained and then try to build out an ecosystem of applications that are usable by the masses. That's kind of our take from day one.
Oh, I love you. Hold on a second. I'm gonna invite you somewhere. I'm gonna invite you to our R&D department.
Well, thanks much.
And you could see exactly what you just said. That's what we have going on.
Cool.
How I invite you?
So what would you say are the differences between, say, your wallet and Exodus and the others?
I give credit where credit's due. So Exodus is a great app from the viewpoint of like they've got great user experience. They've started off and been able to branch off from like desktop to mobile. They've got great asset support. Like they've got a lot of assets that they do support, some of which we don't support. Where we primarily differentiate is in key management as well as exchange functionality. So when we launched Edge, our goal was to take people off the centralized services. Let's get the centralized services that people are using and provide similar functionality in a similar experience, but be self-custody, meaning you hold your own keys, you control your funds, you control a strong part of your own privacy. So, for example, you guys were talking about, Exodus, once again, a great product, but one of the fundamental differences is that we have very, very rich exchange functionality in our app from day one. And the ability to go from one asset to another is only like the beginning of it. Being able to onboard into crypto from fiat, we have like 8-9 different partners around the world covering globally, different payment mechanisms to let people get into crypto. And then of course, once they're into crypto, be able to swap to and from different cryptocurrencies, which we also access through another 8-9 different partners, which allows us to be a bit more decentralized in the sense that any partner that may be out of liquidity for a certain asset, it automatically rolls over to another partner that does. It also finds you best price. So within those different partners, there's both the kind of conventional centralized-ish but but non-custodial exchanges that we integrate to swap between coins, and then there's also decentralized exchanges built in. And if the decentralized exchanges can provide a better price, it'll actually automatically roll over to those products. So from a fiat onboarding to a crypto to crypto, that helps us stand out. But the key management is the thing you won't see in any other app. where you have self-custody control of your own keys, but you never have to see the keys. You don't have to write down 24 words. You can if you want to. Keys are extractable. No one sees it but yourself. But a user can access Edge by just simply creating what feels like a normal account, right? Once again, we're looking for mass adoption. We're trying to drive our ethos and ideology to people that don't even care about the ideology. They just get it. They just get the security, the privacy in the application, even if they don't know they're going through that they don't have to go through any extra work. So the key management is what's definitely unique. You'll notice that when you get into Edge, you'll never have to, we don't tell you to write down your key. Create an account, log in. 2 factors automatically enabled at the touch of a button. Protects your account in case, credentials get compromised. And you really don't have that kind of alienating process of key management and backup that you wouldn't with most other apps.
Yeah, that's fantastic, man. I mean, it goes along with the ethos, not your keys, not your coins, right?
Absolutely.
So by having access to your own keys, it's fantastic because, I mean, that's a massive security risk, not having your own keys.
Nope, exactly. We felt that way, but we found it when we founded the company. We've been around actually since about 2014. When we founded the company, we noticed that the industry really diverged into 2 kinds of users. The folks that would use the centralized services because it was just, that's all they could handle from the viewpoint of dealing with their crypto. And then there was the significantly smaller percentage of people that would say, okay, I'm going to go through that extra effort. I can handle. Back then it was saving your wallet.dat file or print PDF and writing some characters on it. Like they would go through that extra effort because they believed in it. But we wanted to really attract to the people that would normally go to an exchange and would normally just leave their funds there and also be able to buy, sell, and trade there, but bring them over into the self-custody world. And we felt that in order to do that, you really had to solve key management and make key management feel like you're using a centralized service, even though you're not trusting it with your keys and your funds.
That sounds amazing. So what kind of coin? Like a lot of these services similar to yours, they're kicking out privacy coins. What's your stance on that?
Oh gosh, we want to incorporate more privacy coins. So we were the first multi-asset wallet to incorporate Monero, which I know that in a way you guys are supporting. Pirate Chain, which is somewhat of a competitor, but of all of the multi-asset wallets in the ecosystem, we were the first to incorporate Monero, and we went through a lot of effort to do so. We even contributed code back to the My Monero team, although still sitting as a PR, but contributed code and a lot of feedback to get to build an SDK that makes it easier for even our own competitors to incorporate Monero. And even in that sense, one of the open source libraries that we had published was actually used by at least one, if not several of our competitors, and slurped up into their closed source application. So we do care a tremendous amount about privacy. We've also worked very, very closely with the Zcash team to spec out and architect a library in, this is a bit technical, but React Native, which is a very popular mobile development framework, to spec out and develop a React Native library that can be used by many different apps, not just us. And so they've actually completed on that. We're looking at getting that integrated. It's just a matter of us having the bandwidth. Unfortunately, we're short on resources and manpower, but we are hiring actually. So as soon as we can get some more people on the team, we'll have that integrated in short order.
I just sent you an invite to the R&D department. So if you join, you can see what I'm creating here with our R&D department. It's just a lot of developers. They're volunteers. They're very interested in crypto. They're very interested in crypto. They work normal jobs, right? The developers, but they're like people I meet that, they want to get their foot in crypto. They're developers and they don't know how. So
got it.
It's a great place. It's like a breeding ground, our R&D department for, talent and people who want to get involved.
Got it. If these are people that are looking to leave their current development job and go into full-time crypto, that's what we're looking to hire. We have a few contract developers that we work on. Admittedly, one of the challenges is we can easily get a bunch of people working on bounty projects to get, stuff into Edge. The challenge is that, from the viewpoint of security and code quality, we have to code review everything. And so we're bottlenecked on just being able to accept the code contributions. So we're actually looking at hiring full-time staff to join the team that can really understand the entire infrastructure of our code base, really be part of the team, and then have more resources to code review outside development work that gets contributed into our open source repos.
When that time comes, I could suggest to you the best people I know that can do that job.
Great. Well, we're actively hiring. So if you've got people that you'd recommend, send them our way.
So
Yeah.
accept that invite I sent you on Discord.
Is that
I'll
to
bring you in,
the?
and you could
I
engage
joined in
and
a
talk.
check. Is that the development chat or is that something else?
It's a private chat, a private invite I sent you in a DM. You see it?
Got it. Let's see here.
All right. Once you're in,
There we go. I
I
see.
gotta show.
Acorn.
Yep, there you go.
Got it.
So
Okay.
All right. So what?
So
Once
you
you're in
mentioned
there-
that you were working closely with Zcash and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what have you figured out a way to? Because I know that a lot of other either wallets or exchanges and so forth have issues trying to add like the shielded only addresses and transactions and such. Is that something that you guys have figured out already, or?
Oh yeah, it's been about 2 years of discussions on how to get a platform SDK that can be used by a light wallet such as ours. And to the best of our understanding, that SDK is ready to go. Like we figured it out. Their team has definitely put in a tremendous amount of effort. It's just a matter of getting that platform integrated into our application, which just, like I said, it requires some resources. But as far as the difficulty of Zcash and the protocol, it has been figured out for sure. Now it's just let's complete the last few bits to get it actually integrated into Edge.
Nice. And not sure if you know, but Pirate Chain is actually the first Z-only address chain in existence.
Got it.
That was back in 2018. So you can imagine, with the amount of work that you guys put into getting that integrated and set up and stuff, the amount of work we had to do with trying to get exchanges and everyone else trying to list
hard,
us
yeah.
and do all that other stuff.
Definitely, the privacy coins are a challenge, and each of them have to be kind of handled one by one. And so, from the viewpoint of integration into like mobile and light client desktop applications, as a recommendation to the team over at Pirate Chain, looking at the SDK that the Zcash team has built, and it's an open source SDK. Of course, we wouldn't integrate one that isn't open source, but if that can be utilized and its same API to that SDK utilized to build an SDK that works with Pirate Chain, that would make for integration to be much, much simpler.
Yeah, we actually have our own light wallet and mobile wallet and everything like that. So I believe that's what Mr. Lynch has implemented, and then Forge took on and updated and everything like that. So I believe we're using that as a basis.
You using the SDK from Zcash or the SDK that was separately built for this wallet, or was an SDK built, or was it just a monolithic wallet that knows how to talk to the Pirate Chain network?
I would have to double check on that with Forge.
Okay.
Forge is our core developer, so.
Got it. We noticed that with some projects, obviously when you build out a new chain, you need a wallet, and so some projects will build out a wallet, but it won't be built in such a way that it's a library that other apps can use. It becomes this monolithic code. I know Cardano had done that, where they had the dataless wallet that could access Cardano, but it was fully monolithic. And so it's not friendly for another app to use it. You'd have to slice and dice, code left and right. And so really having a platform, an infrastructure platform that other apps can use is really key to getting broad adoption versus just a monolithic app that someone can download.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, I got a question from
too. Sure, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say one of the also big differentiators between Edge and a lot of other apps is not just are we open source, but we're also a platform. So there are other apps out there that actually use Edge, the SDK, the development kit, to build their own application. And that application can have the same key management benefits that Edge has, where you just create an account and log in. But as well, it also can utilize all of our blockchain support to be able to send and receive funds on the various blockchains that we support. So when a blockchain gets added to Edge, it actually gets added to our SDK. It's added to our SDK and the libraries that our SDK accesses. And that's what gives access to the Edge application that people actually download and use on their phone. But it also then provides access to that chain for any third-party apps that use our platform to be able to transact crypto. And they get access to it much simpler than them trying to build support themselves for those assets. So that's one thing I wanted people to be aware of, is that support in Edge becomes support not just in Edge, but any other apps. And we don't promote that very heavily. Our platform doesn't get promoted. It's one of those things that we know we want to really start bringing out to the ecosystem over time. And so that's why we keep that clean separation of of platform and app. But over the next, say, a couple of years, we really want to start pushing that. And then all of the assets in Edge kind of are along for the ride and gain that benefit.
Yeah, so it sounds like, the way you're setting your stuff up, it's built for adoption. You know what I mean? Because with all the third-party apps that can integrate with it, you can add more over time and just basically, if one of them is successful with, say, creating a point of sale system or whatever and using the Edge wallet, all of a sudden now they have all these coins and tokens that can be integrated into that point of sale system.
Exactly. And we're seeing a lot of interest from, for example, like ATM providers, where they want to have their own wallet that's not just a wallet, but it integrates some functionality with their ATM network, like being able to KYC directly with their ATM network. But then they automatically get support for whatever assets we have inside of our platform. So therein lies like a clear-cut example. There's another great app out there, some of you may have heard of, called Ember Fund, and it's a decentralized hedge fund, meaning as opposed to depositing $100,000 with a financial custodian and them trade your funds, it actually sends trading signals into the app itself to be able to trade funds between Bitcoin, Ethereum, stable coins, potentially any chain and token that we support. Well, once we have support for an asset, then their app also has access to that, and they can include that asset into the kind of list of assets that their hedge fund could support, their virtual decentralized hedge fund could support.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Real quick, a question from our community. Pingu says, what about hardware wallet compatibility to Edge?
Yeah, so we've had that interest. Admittedly, it's not something that we've integrated, and it's not something that we looked at. And the primary thing about the hardware wallet integration is that it kind of conflicts with the key management ethos that we've been building, right? Edge is meant to make key management very, very light and simple. And hardware wallets, while they do add that extra layer of what I call outside attack vector security, they introduce that complexity that we're trying to avoid, that complexity of key management. There's also the complexity of there's different plugins you literally have to install on the phone to support the different types of assets. So it's not just adding support into our wallet, but also adding support into the hardware wallet itself for the different assets you want to support. So it's a weird mix of key management inside of the same app. And since our app is so focused around really streamlined key management, it is a bit of a conflict. But we understand there are some people that have a strong interest in hardware wallets. And admittedly, that's where a lot of our competitors become a better solution than us. And we have to admit that, hey, we can't do everything. We're not for everybody. But that's also part of the beauty of the free market and the beauty of crypto is there's such low barrier to entry that if we're not the right fit, there's other apps there that likely are. Or heck, open source world, go and build it.
Yeah, or that just means that you guys haven't figured out a solution yet to something like that, because I would imagine that, there would be a way to include, like, basically a third party to create a hardware solution that would be integratable with Edge and take advantage of all of Edge's features and such.
So definitely all the features of being able to send and receive funds, all of our asset support, all of the UI could be leveraged with a hardware wallet, but the key management is a bit more of a tricky thing. Some things that we've talked about internally with the team, because we want to think of ways to integrate what we call not a hardware wallet, but more vault caliber security. Because in the end, it's not hardware wallets that people want. They want vault caliber security, right? It's really what you get out of it, not the actual hardware. Who wants to spend a couple $100s on a hardware wallet? No, they just want that level of security. And fundamentally, we feel like the better path to that level of security is less of a hardware wallet and more of multi-sig, because that's the way humanity really works. Humanity works such that when we want a higher level of security, we want to distribute the trust. We don't want one thing that we believe has to be super bulletproof and cannot be compromised. Instead, we want to distribute the trust in the same ethos as decentralization, distributed across multiple entities, multiple devices, potentially multiple regions. And that's the path that we think really, really does lend itself to broader mass adoption, because that's the way, for example, a shared checking account works, where you have to have co-signers. You have multiple signers necessary on a contract. It's what we're used to in the real world. And that's what we want to bring into crypto, is what people are used to in kind of like the pre-crypto world, and bring that into crypto. So we don't currently have any multi-sig support, but if we added what we call vault caliber security it will likely be in some flavor of what multi-sig is capable of doing and using and taking advantage of multi-sig.
Yeah, and one of the things that that we believe strongly in is the fact that the weakest link in any privacy coin or anything privacy related is the user itself. So it sounds like what you guys have done is basically created a security mechanism, like with the multi-sig and everything, to protect the user from himself a little bit. From, for example, like leaving your laptop or phone out in public or connecting to public Wi-Fi and things like that. Like things like that are what ruin privacy and security for the user itself. So.
No, exactly. And so our take is privacy and security by default at the limitations of what we can do by default. So like I said, we're not perfect. Like, I think no product is perfect, but as an example, there's many applications which you can be very private and secure. Let's take Telegram as an example. Telegram can be incredibly private and secure because you can do a secret chat between people. But the default isn't a secret chat. The default is an in the clear, unencrypted chat that goes through Telegram servers that they can see. So our take is, hey, if that can be made private by default, then let's not even give the option. But then there's also limitations to that. There's certain things that become very, very hard to make super, super, super duper private by default. Case and example of, for example, Signal. Signal can be made very private by default if you required everyone to exchange their public key manually between themselves before you contact somebody, right? You could do that. You could say, hey, before I can talk to you, you have to go and give me your public key through some side channel. I will get that, put it into the app, whether it's scanning a QR code or whatnot, put that in the app, and then I can converse with you. That's like the uber private by default. But instead, Signal chose a good middle ground where, hey, there's phone numbers inside of my address book, and I can find out that someone else with that same phone number is on the app, on the Signal app. So now that's compromising some level of privacy because now Signal has to see phone numbers. But after you've made that discovery and you've linked with someone, all of the chats between the two of you are fully encrypted. So that's where I like to really promote what I call a really good balance, where you've given the users a very, very strong level of that ethos that you're trying to build with privacy, but you haven't made it where the layman can't use it. Because I have friends, especially with this whole WhatsApp debacle, where Facebook suddenly changed all the permissions on WhatsApp and we need access to this, and that, and your first child. All these people started looking at other alternatives, and I use that as a way to push Signal to my kind of normie friends. And they installed it, they used it, and it just felt like anything else, right? It just felt like another chat app. And I'm like, sweet, thumbs up. There are some what I call like little corner case issues that I have with Signal, but for by and large, they've struck a good balance. And that's what we're trying to do in the crypto space, is strike that good balance where people feel like they're using a normal app that they're accustomed to, and they get most of the benefits, but it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be the total cypherpunk, crypto anarchist, lock themselves up in a basement, use only open source and nothing else, build the code themselves type of a solution. But it's going to be a good balance.
Well, yeah, and I think one of the many solid key points to take away from that is that you guys have that in mind. You know what I mean? So a lot of places don't have. How can I make the user more like safer?
Exactly. I'll give a good case in point example. A lot of people, I mentioned early in the talk that we saw a notable divergence of people that would just go use the centralized exchanges, and then other people would go use the self-custody apps because they cared about privacy, blah, blah, blah. Well, there's a large breed of self-custody apps today that while you hold your own key, you have almost no privacy. So they'll actually KYC you to be able to use the app. I'm not trying to mention any names, but there are a few. They'll KYC you to use the application, or at least get an email address, which already compromises a lot by just getting an email address. And then B, they actually see every single address, because I'm not sure how much of your audience is aware of this keyword, but if you guys have heard of an XPub, for example, a Bitcoin XPub it's just a string of letters and numbers, but it lets you find out what are all the addresses that a user will ever have on the Bitcoin network. Now, granted, Bitcoin isn't nearly as private as Monero, Pirate Chain, Zcash, but you can have an improved level of privacy by only exposing some of your addresses. With some of these competitors, they'll actually take the XPub, send it over to their server, link it with your identity information, such as an email address. And now every transaction you have ever done and will ever do in the future, even if you took your keys off that wallet and used a different one, they will know every transaction that you'll ever do going forward. And every transaction you do has to go through their system. So when you craft a transaction, it's getting crafted on their platform. When you send the transaction, it goes through them. Stark difference in Edge. Not only do we encrypt the keys and only you have access to the keys, but we don't ever send the public key, the XPub, and public addresses to us. Those only ever get queried out to the nodes on the network, the services and the APIs on the network, not to us. And by doing that, we can't associate any encrypted account on our platform with any public address. So while we hold encrypted data on our platform, and that encrypted data is still somewhat sensitive, it's still encrypted, but it's, it's sensitive in the sense that, it's a user's keys. We cannot associate that encrypted data to an amount of money that it holds. We can't associate it to a public address. That's key, and that's something that a lot of other platforms can't claim. And so this weird hybrid platform that we're starting to see some apps come out with definitely has a more significant compromise of privacy, and we put a lot of effort to make sure we don't do that.
Well, damn, that's awesome. I mean, the privacy aspect of this whole thing is phenomenal.
Oh, thanks. We try hard. There's still a lot more that we can be doing, but we're doing our best with the technology and the team that we've got.
Yeah, but I mean, I've used wallets like Jax and several others that are just, they're decent multi-coin wallets, but I mean, just comparing the privacy aspect of those compared to what all the features that you're, mentioning about Edge is crazy.
Awesome. Well, thanks.
Yeah, we do have Forge in the audience, who's our core dev. Let's see if he can come up and maybe he can answer that question for you.
Sure.
Forge, you around, buddy? Yeah, he may have walked away for a minute.
Yeah, Forge is amazing. The stuff he's done for us, bro. If you need if you wanted to add us to Edge, I mean, he would be your man, to help you out. He's amazing.
Well, I'm sure he's a really busy guy, but if he has some spare cycles, I'd love to be able to chat with him and as well, see if he has some resources and time to work on the actual libraries necessary for an integration.
I'm sure he'll pop up eventually.
Yeah.
Somebody give him a ping.
No, I already did. I think he's busy right now, so he was just kind of listening in. But yeah, does anybody have any questions or comments that you want to mention to Paul here? We're to fill you in a little bit, Paul. We're streaming not only here but on Twitch, YouTube, and several other places as well. So we get a ton of comments from various places.
Go recorded and posted somewhere like on YouTube.
Yep.
Oh, awesome, cool. Let us know a link when this is all done. We're happy to help promote the discussion.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yep. What's going on, Forge?
Okay. Hey, what's up? So what's the question?
Yeah, Paul, if you want to repeat the question about the SDK and stuff like that, because I probably will screw it up.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just mentioning that, we'd work closely with the Zcash team in developing an SDK that can incorporate a lot of the functionality necessary for, third-party applications to send and receive funds on their chain. And that would be something that, if developed and available, would make it tremendously easier, especially with these privacy coins, which have very, very complex cryptography behind them, network interaction behind them. Having an SDK like what they had built could make it a lot simpler for apps such as Edge and even our competitors to get support for Pirate Chain.
Well, Pirate Chain is fully compatible with whatever Zcash has built, so we could just use that.
Got it. So it's full UTXO based and same address formats.
Notes is what Zcash built. Is it based? Does it handle the encrypted transactions or just the unencrypted transactions?
Encrypted transactions. We have not integrated Zcash in the transparent addresses. Our goal was to incorporate only the shielded addresses. So this SDK was specifically around support for shielded addresses.
Perfect. Then that would be fully compatible with Pirate. Because I mean, we even use the same address encoding as Zcash, so it would literally be plug and play for us.
Got it. So some of the things I know that they had done is their SDK is kind of a two-part. One part is a kind of a super node. I think they call it something like an indexing node that will compress blocks. So if that is also pretty compatible, you'd have to run that node on top of a regular like Zcash or Pirate Chain full node. And
Are you talking about the Light Wallet
client-side library?
The Light Wallet D server?
I believe that's what it's called. Yes. So
we already have one of those running. It runs our mobile wallet and our Light Wallet.
Sweet. Okay, cool. And then the SDK that they have a mobile SDK that actually does all of the queries directly to the Light Wallet D server for a user's account. Right.
The Light Wallet CLI.
It's not a CLI. It's an iOS and Android SDK that actually has a database in it that will actually index and hold the transactions for the user client side in their app.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. I haven't looked at that in quite a while, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be fully compatible.
Oh, that's awesome then. So if there's at least a even sample test app that is using the SDK that like definitively, we know you can actually send and receive transactions. There's no differences. There might be, I'm not sure if there's an API difference at all, but if it's fully compatible, at least getting a simple Hello World app running with the client-side SDK could definitely make things a lot easier to integrate. But knowing that there's no little hiccups and whatnot, but that would definitely help.
Yeah, I don't think we have anything running that right now. Most of the databasing and indexing stuff is done with a different application.
Okay.
It still uses the libzcash Rust library, which I believe is where the SDK is built into, but probably a little bit older version. But still, everything would be fully compatible because everything sapling-wise, transaction format is identical.
Identical. That's good to hear. That's awesome. That's really awesome. So yeah, that sounds perfect. And obviously, you guys wouldn't be receiving any of the non-shielded transactions, so the code to support it will just be sitting there idle. But that should be entirely fine. And your block formats are compatible as well, like the actual layout of completed signed blocks.
Yeah, the blocks are the same. Yeah, they're identical too because we use the same hashing function. So yeah, they should be the exact same size. The header should be the exact same size. It should be the same format. Everything should be the same.
So is this basically a fork of Zcash, but with the transparent address support removed? Would that be a good description? It's
a fork of a fork. So Komodo is a fork of Zcash, and we're technically a fork of Komodo.
Got it. Okay. But from the viewpoint of compatibility and functionality, it's a fork of Zcash, but then simply removing the T addresses or transparent addresses.
Yes, from a transaction standpoint, yes.
From a transaction point, got it. Okay. Yeah, it sounds super promising. Sounds like this actually could go pretty smoothly. I imagine that but just the shielded address support has been definitely challenging for a lot of apps to incorporate until recently. So hence why I'm not aware of many, if any, kind of commercial, widely adopted wallets supporting shielded addresses on Zcash. But I think that'll change pretty soon. And we're obviously also looking at adding support. So yeah, if the library works, then it should be relatively straightforward. We just haven't incorporated, as I'd mentioned, we hadn't incorporated Zcash yet, only because we're trying to hire and bulk up the team to get more resources to work on some of these additional assets. And right now we're still in that mode of looking for people.
Gotcha. And there's actually a couple more questions from Twitch. And
sure.
We appreciate all the answers, Forge. You're a guy.
No problem. Yeah, thanks so much, Forge. Pleasure meeting.
Yeah.
So does Edge Wallet have plans for a desktop app?
It is definitely something that we want to build out. We don't have a timeline, but we specifically chose the platform and framework that we're using today because it can be more easily ported to a desktop. So it is something we intend for. Don't hold me to it. It's something that we were hoping to be able to get to before the end of this year, but definitely no earlier than more closer to the end of this year. Depends on what other stuff we end up having to deal with. The current bull market has made building a little bit more challenging because you end up having to do a lot more support. Obviously, when there's a lot more people using the platform, you've got to kind of scale it up and make sure things are stable. But we definitely have it on the roadmap.
Cool. Is there a cost to the Edge wallet?
No, just download it, use it for sure. Obviously, when you trade in the app, when you go and convert crypto to crypto or buy from a bank account, there is a cost to that. So that's pretty standard conventional, but there's no cost to just using the app. We don't take any fees on like transactions. Transactions can be expensive depending on the chain, but that entirely goes to miners, not to us.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that's actually the next question was, is there any transaction fees that are done by you guys? But perfect. That's awesome. Another question, which doesn't directly relate to the Edge wallet. When can we expect a CoinWatch episode on Pirate with Naomi Rockwell?
We put CoinWatch a little bit on hold at the end of the year, just trying to figure out a good format. Plus, we both got pretty busy. So happy to do an episode, once we start actually doing the episodes again. We love talking about private technology, private coins. We had covered Monero. I think we covered Zcash as well. Or maybe not yet. I think Monero we definitely covered. So would be definitely happy to cover it. We just got to figure out our format. One thing we were looking at doing is trying to introduce a way to get a whiteboard into the view, because describing a lot of these projects is difficult without being able to visually show people, like on a virtual whiteboard, like, this box connects to this and this does that, and money flows from this place to the other place. So maybe we can figure that out. We'll kick up the show again and definitely get Pirate Chain on the roadmap.
Awesome. That sounds great.
All right.
Sweet. Does anybody else have any questions? Oh, there's another one. Will there be a listing fee for Edge?
So there is, depending on what we call since we define ourselves as an exchange, right? We let people buy, sell, and trade. That's our business model. The listing fee is what we call less of a listing fee and more of the cost for our team to support the asset over the next 3 years, really. That's kind of like 2 to 3 years. What's the cost for us to support this asset? If we feel like we're going to at least break even in exchange volume, then there's no fee. And that's just a total guess. Like, hey, what's the trading volume of this asset across different exchanges, and do we think we can achieve that? If we think that we're not going to break even on the cost to support the asset, and where that cost comes from is code maintenance, because as any developer out there will tell you, you can't just write code and expect that it's perfect and that it will never have to change, especially with blockchain, which changes on a regular basis, especially the privacy coins. Like with Monero, we've had to constantly change our app just to keep basic support functioning. So there is always a hidden cost to supporting an asset. But to us, we estimate that in what we call like the low 5 figures, mid to low 5 figures. So an asset that has minimal exchange volume that we don't think we're going to make a whole lot of money on and not be able to at least break even on the support costs, we'll ask for what you might call a listing fee, but it's really a support fee. It's what's our team going to have to expend in hours and man hours just to keep the asset supported over at least about 3 years. And that definitely is never what we would estimate to be $500,000. Like I said, it's usually mid to low 5 figures. Mid to low 5 figures, that's to pay for the team to just keep the code in check. Every so often, we'll rebase code and we'll refactor code, we'll optimize code. Well, now if part of that code is this asset, we have to factor that in now. And so that's where that comes from. So I think most teams have found that very reasonable.
Yeah,
Well,
so from what go ahead.
you looked at Pirate and you said to yourself, you're like, hey, listen, this looks like the next Monero, and we're going to make so much money off the fees that they could come in for free.
Yeah, if we felt like that was a strong potential, and we look at what kind of volume the asset's making on some other exchanges, and we think, hey, we can make a good amount of trade volume, then yeah, we list assets for free. We do the work, so that's really what it comes down to, like, an actual number for that.
The volume
So,
you're looking for is 500,000?
Well, totally straightforward. We make 0.5% on trade volume, right? Over the course of 3 years, we'd like to make around 30 to 50K in at least revenue for that to be able to just break even on the cost of just maintaining the app, both our customer support, people calling and talking to our customer support team whenever there's an issue, to code maintenance and whatnot. And so you kind of do the math, right? Making 30 to 50K at 0.5% over the course of 2 to 3 years. If we think we can do that, then great. Most assets that are young aren't able to make that, and so we're integrating them basically at a loss, and that's where we would ask for an integration fee just to cover that cost.
Yeah, so from what it sounds like, it's basically you actually take the real costs of what it would take to do all that, like maintenance and everything like that, as opposed to, say, exchanges that, charge just a straight up standard listing fee and just expect that, it won't be too bad, or they just charge an exuberant amount and make a ton of profit on it because they can.
Right. A lot of exchanges, this is their profit model. Their profit model is the listing fee. That's absolutely not ours. Like the amount that we've collected in listing fees and what we intend to collect in listing fees is, other than the fact that we have to put something on our profit and loss sheet, so we show that as profit, but to us, that's just barely paying for the cost to support the asset. Like that's not what we even consider in our roadmap of growth for the company. Our growth is, let's get the assets on there. Let's get support such that people can do the trades and get adoption for the app. That's our revenue model.
And that's pretty much how it should be done. That
Right,
makes
exactly.
the most sense.
Exactly. That's what we think is a long-term sustainable model.
We have no pre-mine, we have no ICO. We're totally fair. There
Right.
was no rocket mining. There was nothing like that. It was totally. If you look at the history, we do have a website. You can see the history as to how we were created from just the devs at Komodo were just trying something out, and then all of a sudden, Pirate came to be. They're like, oh, let's see what happens if we remove this, and they just so happened to make something amazing. So the birth of Pirate itself wasn't even planned. It was just something that came to be.
Got it. That's awesome to hear.
A happy accident.
Yeah. That's awesome to hear. That definitely makes for what you'd consider a nice, fair launch where, its adoption had to be organic because, you can't pay for a lot of adoption in that regard. And obviously that's kind of the way Bitcoin worked, right? Bitcoin doesn't pay for its own adoption. And so that's totally fair. And, kind of subconsciously, we put that into consideration as well. Like there's some projects where there is no entity per se. Sometimes there's just simply strong advocates or large holders that are helping adopt the platform and can kind of donate. And really, it's a donation at that point, donate some of their resources into the adoption. But you're right. There's no pre-mine, no ICO, no IEO, whatever we want to call it. Makes it that there's not like a centralized entity that can contribute support. So we do factor that to a degree as well. But really, once again, it's not like we're trying to make money off of it. We're just trying to at least break even.
A lot of projects come to me and they're like, oh, you give us 1 million coins and, we'll do this for you. I'm like, where the hell you think I'm going to get 1 million coins from?
Right.
I mean, like, you could go buy it on the exchange if you want it, like the rest of us. There's no one here holds any more coins than, what that exchange holds.
Got it. Yep.
Does anybody else have any questions or anything like that? If not, then we'll go ahead and start wrapping this up.
There's a raised hand. I think it's
Aristotle, I see.
Aristotle's in. Bring him in. Go ahead, Aristotle. You're live.
All right, thanks.
You're live. You're live with the Pirate monthly update. This is Paul we're speaking with from the Edge Wallet, who's come here today to tell us all about how Edge works.
Awesome. And great seeing you at Acapulco. Just loved it.
Oh,
and so the question I have is, I just downloaded your wallet. I think it's, I was perusing it while you were talking a little bit ago when I jumped on. How, I'm fairly new to crypto, got into it, this last year, where I actually invested, but very, knew about crypto for a long time, but I just didn't devote the brain power to get into it back 5 years ago, because it was so difficult. I love what you're doing here. So my question that I have is, what does it take to, I'm praying to God that Pirate Coin can jump on your wallet, and it's really makes it easy. I love what they've done, but how do you see like other types of coins, such as coins that are like backed by real estate and those types of things? Do you think that those will be easier adopted or not?
So you mean coins that have a tie to the physical world, such as real
Yes.
estate?
Yeah.
So I think this is a challenge. I think when coins get tied to the real world, the biggest barrier is who is the legal entity that enforces that what's on a blockchain actually represents the ownership of what's in the real world, right? So if you tie, for example, some coin or an NFT to the ownership of a house, well, what if I go and simply, or a car, let's just call it a car. What happens if I go and physically steal your car? And you go, no, I own that car because I've got the NFT. But now who's going to enforce that? Who's going to go and arrest me because I stole your car? If it's law enforcement in the real world and it's the government in the real world that has to be the one to enforce it, then that entity has to actually care about the blockchain, right? Do the cops give a damn about who owns the NFT? If they don't give a damn about it, then who cares that you've got this quote unquote signed NFT that's on a blockchain? So that is the barrier to adoption. And if the barrier to adoption is tied to real world government entities and law enforcement, that can make it kind of tough. And so that's where I think that is a long-term use case. If we get crypto adopted and, the crypto is adopted as a payment mechanism, as a store of value, yada, 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 decentralized finance, and the world has accepted cryptography and cryptocurrency and blockchains as just part of our ecosystem, as part of our life. Now we could say, oh, by the way, I want to put ownership of property instead of on this piece of paper that's all torn and 50 years old, sitting in a file cabinet in the middle of an assessor's office for some county, right? That if that office burns up, no one knows who actually owned this property. And so we want to say, hey, we want to put this on a blockchain. Hey, law enforcement, hey, government, can you use this as the source of truth as to who owns the property? Because we're already using it as a source of truth for who owns money and the transfer of money. That becomes an easier step. Well, I don't think that's going to be the adoption. That's not going to be what helps the adoption. It's going to be the thing that gets adopted because we've already adopted money on a blockchain.
Excellent. And that makes perfect sense. That brings me to the next question that I had was, because I believe that this, the blockchain would be an amazing thing to actually, get rid of title companies.
I think it'd be great. I have my whole family, my dad, a lot of his relatives, my mom's friends were all real estate agents. And so I've seen and witnessed firsthand some of the complexity of title. And I've also purchased 3 different homes and sold 3 different homes in my lifetime. And it's a gigantic mess. So I see the benefit from it, but it's not one that I personally want to tackle outright in this early phase of crypto. So right now it's about the money. It is money. That's what Satoshi built crypto for. And then let's now add other functionality of money on it, such as privacy, something we haven't had in digital money ever. And then B, let's add financial services on top of it. And that's where smart contracts and Ethereum and things like that come into play, because now we can replace not just the services that send and receive money. Now we can replace the services that give out loans, insurance, trading, and whatnot. Really, really moving off the old financial system into the new one.
Yeah, excellent. Because I've been messing with that idea of setting up fractional ownerships and things like that with crypto and trying to figure out how to make that a blockchain piece where you could sell your interest but make it like a whole. So I've been kind of racking my head around this for about 2 years, and I haven't figured out a solution yet for it, but I'm working on it.
Best luck with that one. That's an important one to work on.
Yeah, appreciate the question, man.
Hey, thank you, and appreciate it. I'm going to sign off now.
Okay.
Awesome. So, in the interest of time, let's cut this here. Otherwise, we're going to be here for hours, and I know you're probably a busy guy, Paul.
No problem. Always happy to take some time off and chatting with the community. It's always fun.
Thanks for coming, Paul. Listen, Paul, if you could get with me anytime after this privately, I'll give you a tour of the R&D department. Invited you.
Sounds good. We'll definitely do. Now I've got your contact in multiple locations, so let's sync up for sure.
Cool.
Appreciate your time, man, and I really appreciate you coming. I know the community really enjoyed this, and they had some great questions that they brought up, and there was a lot of activity with that. So I know they truly enjoyed listening to you speak about Edge and stuff. So thank you so much for coming.
Well, thanks so much for having me. Thanks a lot to everybody. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm on Twitter, which is how I think this entire discussion started. And then our website's edge.app, where you can find links to download the app itself, and feel free to send us any feedback you have.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.
Love you, bro. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, Lutz, you want to finish up with the monthly update?
All right. So what do we got left here, guys?
You spoke about Miami, Changeley, Exodus. Did you mention Wookie's article?
No, there's a new article, guys. It's in the announcement. Check it out when you get a chance. What else did I miss? Reaching all-time highs on social medias, guys. We reached all-time highs on all the social medias. That should excite you. We speak about the Light Wallet. There's some improvements to the Light Wallet. Is that out yet, Dre?
Yeah. Ford, do you want to go over the wallet stuff real quick?
Sure. I think we released the Light Wallet, the new Light Wallet yesterday, version 1.04. It's got a couple of changes. One, it's significantly faster, like a lot faster. Let's see. It includes a bunch of different pirate-based themes, which are going to be mirrored onto the full node wallet on the next release. We used some high-res images, so it should be nice and crisp and clean. So hope everybody likes that. We did change the way the inputs work. On the old Light Wallet version 1.03 and below, you didn't choose your inputs. You just had a wallet balance. It could be spread across a number of different addresses, and the wallet would just select a bunch of different notes and send it to wherever you wanted to. So it could come out of multiple addresses. This creates kind of a weird scenario for the mobile wallet. So we updated the Light Wallet to pull notes from a single address that you can choose. So it'll function exactly like the full node wallet, where you have to choose an input address. We did change the way the wallet handles transaction fees and the way it handles change on a transaction. These are both toggleable, so if you don't want to see your change or your transaction fee, you can turn those off in the settings. I think that's about it.
One thing I want to mention is that I can attest to the speed of the Light. I used the mobile wallet today to sync up, and literally it was done within under a minute. And I hadn't synced it within a month or so. So it was so fast.
Yeah, both the sync speed on the mobile and the Light Wallet should be a lot faster.
Yep, I can definitely tell that. So yeah, appreciate that, Forge.
Yep.
What else was there? Oh, we had an update that wasn't mentioned this morning was the fact that we broke a record this morning. We had over 100 live listeners for the European Asian meeting for the monthly update. So freaking awesome. Thank you guys for that. Go ahead, Liz.
All right. I think that's. I think we've covered basically everything we needed to cover. Have I forgotten something? Take a moment to think here. Light Wallet.
Oh, we got a like and a comment from Naomi Brockwell on Twitter, thanks to a video Cosius made. So shout out to Cosius on that. That was fantastic.
Oh, the war implementation.
Yeah. So for war, with my side project thing, I have that going on, and that should be done by the end of the month, which is when the gateway for R to BSC should be created. And so I'm expecting by next month we'll have war.
Oh, sick. And then we'll be able to liquidity stake and make money on the money we already hold, basically.
Yep.
That's awesome. Oh, yeah. People who held on and held a lot, you're gonna love this.
Yeah. So for those who who know about DeFi and Uniswap and pancake swaps, things like that, they'll understand what liquidity staking is. But probably next month, what I'll do is I'll go over the whole shebang in terms of war, because there still needs to be more planning with that.
All right, guys. This was the Pirate monthly update. We've gone on about an hour now, so I think we're good. Visit pirate.black. Make sure you visit us on social media. Is everybody on social media right now on Float, YouTube? Thanks for showing up today. We really appreciate your support because we are all volunteers here. All right, so we really do appreciate your help because this is all just time this is time we devote just for this because we love what we do here. We love privacy, we love crypto, and we love Pirate. We believe we all fell here because this is the solution. Or else I'd still be in Monero. So now I'm here. All right, guys. So thanks for joining us today. I love you all. This is Luch signing out.
And this is Drake signing out too.
All right, later, guys.
Appreciate it, Forge.